For years, Snowtown was the kind of place that flew under the radar, just a quiet, sun-bleached spot in South Australia with a single main road and a tiny bank that barely opened its doors. The silence there was so thick, you'd think nothing ever happened, right? But behind that calm facade, a group of men was transforming the town into a horrific slaughterhouse built on lies, paranoia, and a twisted sense of justice. It all kicked off not in Snowtown itself, but in the suburbs around Adelaide, where John Bunting, the ringleader, strutted around like a friendly neighborhood watchdog. He pretended to protect the vulnerable while secretly deciding who deserved to live or die. He had this way of talking that made him sound like a savior, always railing against predators and abusers, labeling anyone he didn't like as a bad person. But behind closed doors, he was the real predator, manipulating damaged and insecure men around him, convincing them that violence was their ticket to righteousness. He spun a warped belief system: punish the wicked, clean the community. It's chilling to think how easily he turned ordinary guys into accomplices in his twisted game, all while they believed they were doing the right thing. Make suffering a lesson, and he built an inner circle who followed his words like gospel. Robert Wagner, with his quiet obedience and dead fish stare. James Vlasakis, a teenager already drowning in trauma and desperate for approval. And Mark Hayden, who pretended he didn't know what he knew so he could tell himself he wasn't involved. The first victims were people they knew, acquaintances, neighbors, sometimes even friends. Bunting chose targets he could justify, men accused of being abusive, or mentally ill, or inconvenient, or simply someone he personally disliked. He twisted the narrative so his followers believed they were doing the world a favor. But the truth was much simpler and much harder. He enjoyed it. The control, the fear, the slow, methodical breaking of a human mind. The torture sessions didn't look like horror movie chaos. They looked disturbingly planned. Victims were tied to chairs, subjected to hours of verbal humiliation, beatings, burns, electric shocks, each method chosen not for efficiency, but for psychological destruction. Bunting wanted them terrified. He wanted them begging. He wanted to watch the exact moment a person realized no one was coming to save them. They recorded some of it. That's how confident they were. How untouchable they felt, and after the killing came the disposal, a system so grotesque it became the signature of the case. They bought large plastic industrial barrels. They poured acid inside. And they stored the barrels in the most mundane, unsuspecting place imaginable, the disused bank vault in Snowtown, a literal vault that once held savings, now holding dissolving human remains. Snowtown had no idea what was happening in its own abandoned building. People walked past the vault every day. Kids rode bikes around it. Families parked next to it to get fish and chips. And all the while, sealed behind metal, the barrels sat quietly, sweating acid fumes, each containing a life that had been erased with clinical brutality and a cold, methodical patience. The killers visited the vault often. Sometimes they'd swing by just to add another barrel, you know? Other times, they'd check on the progress, like they were inspecting some twisted art project. Can you imagine standing there in that stale, chemical-thick air, feeling a sense of pride? By the time the police finally put the pieces together, the smell inside that vault was something officers couldn't shake from their memories. One officer described it as like death had been simmering for years. Another fainted, and yet another vomited until he was gasping for air. When they opened the barrels one by one, it was a nightmare. Bodies in various stages of decay were revealed, limbs warped, skin softened, bones crumbling, some victims still tied up, while others had clothing fused to their flesh. 13 victims in total, not just quick killings, but a horrifying testament to prolonged suffering and brutality. Not single moments of violence, but long campaigns of torment. The part that haunted Australia wasn't just the brutality, but the banality. The way the killers lived among ordinary families, attended barbecues, shopped at supermarkets, made jokes at the pub, all while storing corpses in a vault like it was nothing more than a chore on their weekly to-do list. The community had no idea how close they'd come. It's chilling to think about how many people Bunting had casually discussed targeting, right? Just neighbors he'd marked as deserving punishment, like they were nothing more than a bad habit to kick. The trial turned into one of the longest in Australian history, dragging on 4 years filled with gut-wrenching testimony, crime scene photos that made your skin crawl, and experts trying to untangle how these ordinary guys transformed into monsters together. But honestly, the truth is simpler than that. One man created this darkness, and the others stepped into it willingly, almost like moths to a flame. Snowtown didn't just move on, it still carries that stain. Even today, folks avoid saying the name out loud, almost like it's a curse. Residents can't stand the association, the way strangers whisper when they find out where someone's from. That smell, you know the one. It sneaks up on you, and suddenly, you're hit with a wave of memories tied to this town's eerie past. It's a bit unsettling, isn't it? Just strolling past that old brick building, you can't shake the feeling that there are some serious secrets hiding behind those walls. The vault stands there like a time capsule, holding onto the echoes of human cruelty and suffering that went on right under the noses of those unsuspecting neighbors. It's wild to think about. Sometimes the darkest stories are right in front of us, waiting to be uncovered. I mean, can you imagine the tales those walls could tell if they could talk? It's a stark reminder that history isn't always pretty, and the shadows of the past can linger longer than we'd like to admit. That smell, you know the one, it creeps up on you out of nowhere. And suddenly, you're hit with this overwhelming wave of memories tied to this town's eerie past. It's a bit unsettling, right? Just walking past that old brick building, you can't shake the feeling that there are some serious secrets hiding behind those walls. It's like that vault is a time capsule, holding onto echoes of human cruelty and suffering that went on right under the noses of those unsuspecting neighbors. Think about it. This place was once buzzing with life, filled with stories of people who faced unimaginable hardships. Can you picture the laughter, the arguments, the everyday hustle and bustle? But then, there's this dark shadow lurking, a reminder that not all stories have happy endings. It's wild to think about. Sometimes the darkest tales are right in front of us, just waiting to be uncovered. Imagine the stories those walls could tell if they could talk, whispers of fear, desperation, and maybe even moments of bravery amidst the chaos. It's a stark reminder that history isn't always pretty. The shadows of the past linger longer than we'd like to admit, shaping the very essence of this town. So, as you stroll by, take a moment to reflect. What do you think those walls would reveal if they could share their secrets? Would they echo the pain of the past or the resilience of those who lived through it? Think about it. This place was once buzzing with life, filled with stories of people who faced unimaginable hardships. Can you picture the laughter, the arguments, the everyday hustle and bustle? But then, there's this dark shadow lurking, a reminder that not all stories have happy endings. It's wild to think about. Sometimes the darkest tales are right in front of us, just waiting to be uncovered. Imagine the stories those walls could tell if they could talk, whispers of fear, desperation, and maybe even moments of bravery amidst the chaos. It's a stark reminder that history isn't always pretty. The shadows of the past linger longer than we'd like to admit, shaping the very essence of this town. So, as you stroll by, take a moment to reflect. What do you think those walls would reveal if they could share their secrets? Would they echo the pain of the past or the resilience of those who lived through it?